I wake up every morning just ecstatic and enthused and challenged and humbled, really, to be their commander and to help support them and lead them in building the next generation of cyber warriors.
There's something about the 39th when you walk in the doors here. We breed a different kind of individual here.
They're fighting the war every day on the wire, and we're training them to do that.
We are a moniker of the Air Force here and in small Herbert Field, Florida.
Folks that are going out day to day, going head to head with their adversaries are better because of folks here and the school.
The fact that we are not only a cyber schoolhouse but an information operations schoolhouse on both levels speaks volumes to the 39th.
It's an area of continuous learning, so every day is a game changer.
I know that what I do here will almost directly impact the warfighter.
It's all about defense of the nation.
We're producing warfighters. It's probably the coolest part of our mission.
It really gives you a sense of accomplishment, like you really have a purpose, not only for the Air Force, but for your country.
The way that cyberspace is headed, I think that'll be very important in the future, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
We're family. I look at it as we're a family, and we want to be able to support each other as much as we can.
It's very important to the mission here that passion and that vision exists in this squadron. We are very innovative in the way we do things and the way we think.
And to be able to teach a myriad of different students from different backgrounds is really what makes the 39th unique from other schoolhouses.
It's great to hear their insight, and it's making me a better airman.
I like what I do, I really do, and I like to talk about what I do, what I can talk about anyway.
We are on the leading edge of cyber.
I go home every day a very satisfied individual with what I do here at the 39th.
I'm going to take this information, take it back to my unit, and day in, day out defend the Air Force gig and play my part in defending the Air Force network.
You are the fighter pilot of tomorrow, and I absolutely believe that.
We're here at Herbert Field, Florida, home of the 39th Information Operations Squadron, the Air Force's premier information operations and cyber training unit.
From the President to the SecDef to the Chief of Staff on down, they've all said that while this fiscally strained environment is getting cut left and right, cyber's on the upswing.
If you want to be on the cutting edge of the most exciting opportunities in our Air Force today, look at cyberspace.
This is not just another support mission. This is ops. This is just another tool for the combatant commander to utilize in defending freedom and keeping America safe.
If that system goes down, it's not, gee, did we lose power? But gee, did an adversary just have a strike against us? Thinking about it differently.
In today's increasingly interconnected world, America's Air Force relies more and more on various networks.
I'm training folks to get out there and be prepared to protect our country.
From GPS guidance systems for air munitions to desktop computers enabling day-to-day operations of thousands of units around the globe, the Air Force is utterly dependent on its ability to communicate and operate through computers. With increased efficiency, enabled by computer networks, though, a vast new world of potential vulnerabilities exists.
Not enough to be on the leading edge anymore. You've got to be in that envelope of turbulence in front of the wing.
The loss of connectivity could have disproportionately egregious effects on America's sophisticated military, as opposed to adversary forces. One piece of malicious code, if sophisticated enough, could cripple the military. Similarly, campaigns of digital espionage and data extraction have the potential to reveal untold amounts of proprietary information. The threat isn't limited to nation-states either. Independent groups and individual actors represent a clear threat to the military's networks. Luckily, our Air Force has developed an intense, comprehensive training system designed to cultivate cyber warriors, ever vigilant against adversary actions.
This training pipeline has been modeled after, perhaps more familiar to Air Force brass, the pilot training system. New pilot students are introduced to basic flying proficiencies in the T-6. The top of their respective classes go on to train in the fighter trainer, the T-38, to learn more advanced skills used in aerial warfare. From there, they're selected for an individual weapon system like the F-22 or B-1 and complete their training in their specific aircraft.
Similarly, newly accessioned cyber warriors first report to Keesler Air Force Base for undergraduate cyber training, their version of T6 training. The majority of the class will go to their respective units to become base communications officers, where they'll be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the base's network infrastructure. The top students in each individual class, though, known as A-Shreds, are sent to the 39th Information Operations Squadron at Hurlburt Field, Florida, where they enter the Cyber World's T-38 training, the intermediate network warfare course.
A good 75 to 80% of the courseware for the student is going to be hands-on. In order to make that happen, the student experience has got to be different. It's non-traditional. They'll have access to an unclassified, secret, and our top secret network. I think that the folks that are here, that are teaching, and the students that come through are some of the best and brightest that the United States has to offer.
I want to make sure that we're providing the warfighter every single piece of information they need to conduct operations and be as effective as possible.
It's just a phenomenal opportunity. Just really glad to be here.
The A-Shred officers are met by enlisted airmen, civilians, and other officers upgrading to the operational side of comm work.
Very rarely could you find some place where you've got a senior airman sitting in the same classroom next to a lieutenant colonel. Somebody who's been in the Air Force for 2 years versus somebody who's been in for 24. And then that senior airman is the one that's educating the lieutenant colonel on what's going on in cyberspace operations.
Rather than simply installing and maintaining networks, these select few professionals become guardians of the network, detecting and repelling enemy incursions.
When you're up in front of students and they just start asking questions, you give them a short snippet of what is required for the course, and they come out and ask 30, 40 different questions, going deeper and deeper into the knowledge. It's really rewarding.
The goal is to get people to the point where when they get to their squadron, they will be mission ready within 2 weeks.
Once INWT is completed, the cyber warriors begin learning their individual weapon systems in positional initial qualification training.
Like the T-38 pilot taking their first training sorties on an F-15. INWT grads become familiar with how their network weapons will be used to fight the nation's cyber wars.
Stay tuned.
A lot of what we learn here is foundational. You know, you're not going to take someone from undergrad pilot training and stick them off on their own. A lot of what we're doing now is building that foundation. So we get people who have the aptitude for this kind of stuff. We train them, and then we send them to a specific unit. When the rubber meets the road, it's what you're doing at the job that you're at.
Once you get out there in that operational environment, we're a team, and we have to work together as a team. And I think that's what it's all about.
The cyber domain represents a myriad of challenges for the military.
With the schools like the 39th IOS, we can finally teach people, hey, I need to have security in mind before I connect it up. We need to be thinking about how is this defended in the cyber realm.
Cyber war is unique in that it is entirely man-made and largely pioneered by civilian organizations and individuals. As a point of comparison, look at the air domain. While the revolutionary Wright Flyer was invented by Orville and Wilbur Wright, two civilians, once the military got a hold of aviation technology, they ran with it. They developed faster-than-sound technology, devastating bombs, and advanced reconnaissance tools. The civilian world had little need for these devices. As such, it was incumbent upon the military to lead the charge. In the cyber domain, though, the military doesn't have a monopoly on advanced tools and techniques. Every company operating today uses computer networks to accomplish its goals. A hacker with a political agenda can be just as much of a threat to a computer company as he is to the Air Force.
We all recognize the same dangers. We all have the same practices.
Unlike air warfare, private companies have an overarching incentive to protect themselves against adversary action. With this in mind, the Air Force has seen fit to partner with computer security companies and push their students to earn those advanced civilian certifications.
What we teach is not just government-specific techniques or commercial-specific techniques. We merge the two together.
One such company is the SANS Institute.
SANS is the training arm in which we teach cutting-edge defensive tactics. The methods and processes and techniques that we cover in class, it's really an integrated approach to security that's not about devices, it's all about your data.
SANS trains Air Force operators on incident handling techniques, enabling them to earn a prestigious certification, widely recognized and valued by industry experts.
Anybody can sit in a classroom and listen to an instructor. Not everyone can understand and process the information, so GIAC ensures that you can take the knowledge from the instructor, properly apply it, and know how to make the right decisions that are needed to secure a network infrastructure.
The civilian certifications, in many cases, they mirror exactly what we need. And so we're on the same page as the civilian community.
The folks here really want to learn, they want to make a difference, and I love helping protect this country. And the people you're training at the Air Force are the ones who are going to be directly in the front line of defending our most critical systems.
Being able to work on something I really enjoy, computers, it has always been something I'm interested in, and being able to do it while wearing the uniform is definitely a point of pride for me.
Really, we are trying to capitalize on in this next generation. So they are exposed to things a lot younger than I ever was, and they bring a lot of that talent with them.
I'm a cyber geek, I'm a computer geek, so I'm loving it. I am just soaking it up, just trying to learn as much as I can. It's geek heaven, if you will.
Luckily, INWT 12-07 didn't have any GCIH failures. However, most classes aren't so fortunate.
Most of the time, a student is just a little bit off. Sometimes a student completely missed the mark. So we have to tailor our instructor approach based on where the student is, what the student achieves as far as a score on that particular test. The training review panel is not a disciplinary panel. We here at the 39th want to ensure that the students that are getting the instruction get the best possible instruction available.
The 39th has developed a strict system that pushes students to their limits and ensures only the highest caliber cyber professionals make it to the front lines of the cyber battlefield.
Our standard here at the schoolhouse is 85%, so it's a little bit higher standard. We're here to try to get the student from the failing point to the passing point.
Following months of hard work, INWT 12-07 finally graduates.
Worked really hard for this. I can't wait to just move forward.
It feels good. It's been the end of a pretty intense long 9 weeks, and just glad to be finished. Excited for our whole class. We've been through a lot, and it's great to be done.
Their work is far from over.
Lean on your teammates. As with many things in the military, this schoolhouse is about who you're with and going through struggles and overcoming those struggles and ultimately coming together as a team.
It's a little bit challenging at times, but we definitely come together as a class and help each other out.
Now that they're all equipped with the basics of network warfare, these new cyber warriors have to learn how to operate their specific weapon systems.
The things that we'll learn in these next couple weeks will apply on a day-to-day basis, and having that specialty to have those one-on-one instructors that have been to those squadrons and know what they do on a day-to-day basis is a great opportunity to set us up for success in the future.
The class will break up, with everyone going to their unit's PIQT.
The positional IQT courses were identified to take a training burden off of the receiving units so that they can be full-on cyber warriors when they actually arrive at their units.
After the break, we'll follow the students to their permanent duty station.
Three of the students have now transitioned to their operational unit here at the 92nd Information Operations Squadron in San Antonio, Texas. This next generation of cyber warriors is now on the job after a rigorous journey through the cyber training pipeline.
It's been great. We got some of the smartest people in the world here at the 92nd, and so basically I'm still learning. You know, I went through training and I've got a lot of technical knowledge, but there's folks here, civilian, military, that are awesome folks to talk to and work with, to learn a lot and to accomplish the missions.
I think it's been more than what I thought it was going to be, being able to work with folks that are nothing short of genius. The unit was real welcoming. We're all like a family here.
I feel very proud to do this job. It's kind of a unique opportunity to be here in this squadron. working with so many smart and capable people, so it's a privilege to be here.
To be able to go from school, something that all the other folks have been through, so we all know where we're all coming from.
The 92nd iOS is just one of the many units INWT feeds into.
I was really thankful that a lot of the stuff we learned at the 39th really applied here when I got on the job, boots on the ground. And it wasn't a couple of weeks before we actually were sent through refresher training, and we were mission qualified at week 2.
When they come to us from the 39th, we don't need to question one bit their technical competence. We know that they get it. They understand how to use the weapon system, when to use it, how it's appropriately employed, and they hit the ground running here.
A lot of what the 92nd is doing is really groundbreaking approaches to cyber operations. And so there's a lot of tactical level vision that we're going to be setting.
What's evolving fastest in this business is our tactics.
The 92nd actively tests Air Force networks, both hardware and users, to find areas of weakness. Once found, corrective actions are taken to close down vulnerabilities and make the network more secure against adverse action.
The members of this team are incredibly talented. The metabolism of this business is such that you really have to keep up with the threats. It's an evolving threat, and the tactics and the techniques and the procedures that we learn today are invariably going to be out of date in a matter of weeks or months, sometimes days. So the folks here today are incredibly talented at keeping themselves on the cutting edge of cyber.
The 346 Test Squadron directly supports the 39th iOS, providing a cyber range in which students can learn and hone their skills.
We work hand in hand while the 39th iOS provides the training curriculum for the students. We actually provide the range for the students to actually train on. And we do this through an operationally relevant range so that they know the capability that they're going to train on is very similar, if not almost identically emulated to what they're going to actually operate in the future.
The range has a similar purpose to a physical range for pilots in training. It acts as a separated, self-contained, ultra-realistic environment for students to learn in without any risk of affecting operations on a real-world network.
Our job is to break things before the warfighter gets them in an operationally relevant environment so that the warfighter knows exactly what they're getting, how it's being delivered to them, and they know it's going to work on their operational networks the way it's supposed to work.
If we falter in this mission, then our adversaries will get ahead. And we can't let that happen, simply said.
Every day, the cyber threat to the United States and its allies grows more and more dire. New vulnerabilities are constantly discovered, and our adversaries are working overtime to find footholds and weaknesses in our networks.
The tools and the techniques that we use have always evolved over the past 15 to 20 years that this domain has been a relevant part of our warfighting capacity. But we're getting better now at training ourselves how to think like the adversary and how to stay ahead of the adversary in this business.
A sudden, unforeseen strike from those who seek to do us harm could cripple the U.S. military in an instant. Luckily, the Air Force recognizes these threats and is proactively defending against potential incursions.
It's a big deal. We're doing very exciting things. We're doing warfare that is completely unprecedented. This is something that has cropped up in the past 10 years. It started to gain huge government interest, oversight, and I think we're going to take the cyber domain and do great things with it.
The strongest military the world has ever known will not be content to just sit back and wait for the arrival of an oft-feared cyber Pearl Harbor.
The speed at which this environment changes is something that we really aren't used to in our Department of Defense. In the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, we're going to see tremendous changes in the cyberspace domain.
The cyber warriors trained and operating in 24th Air Force stand at the ready to respond to enemy actions.
As you've seen throughout the news, cyber is becoming really big, a really big deal. I'm just thrilled to be here. Fantastic opportunity and ready to do some good work.
Though the risks are great, the Air Force is more than capable of defending its networks and ensuring the continued military capabilities of the service.
It is so exciting. Cyber changes so frequently. The dynamic nature of this area is incredible, and to see both the operators, the testers, the developers, the acquirers all come together and be able to be as flexible as we are in this domain, it's absolutely amazing.
We, I think, are legitimate inheritors of a rich legacy, going back from those who came before us that operationalized and normalized space capabilities in the onset of the Cold War, and then even further back in the interwar periods in World War I, those pioneers that operationalized and normalized air power. We are in line with that same tradition and legacy of operationalizing and normalizing cyber power to enable those missions.
This is an amazing time to be in the Air Force and to be in cyber. I wish like heck that I was a second lieutenant coming in right now, because the opportunities for them and the operational mindset from the beginning, etc., is just incredible.
We went through a lot of challenges at the school. It was pretty hard to get through, and I'm going to work with them here and actually see what we're all doing. We each have a different part that we do, but we all work together. So I think it's just it's been really a neat experience to go from the start to the end and keep going through and then keep pushing on ahead in the future.
What's more exciting is when I go out and do customer visits and I get to see past students and they're out on the floor doing operations and they get to share with me their stories about some of the cool things that they've been able to do. And a lot of it goes back to the training that they receive here at the 39th and how visionary we were able to be. And we help them think critically about the things that they do when they're out performing the mission. And so that just comes to light when you go out and visit them and they're excited to see you and they're excited to talk about the things that they're doing.
A cyber warrior is a mentality now of a person that's aware of the way we use cyberspace, the vulnerabilities associated with it, and how to best protect and defend that domain that's so important to us in everything that we do.
The U.S. military has taken great care to prepare for a potential cyber conflict. And no force in the world is better postured to fight and win the cyber war.
Protect our country.
From GPS guidance systems for air munitions to desktop computers enabling day-to-day operations of thousands of units around the globe, the Air Force is utterly dependent on its ability to communicate and operate through computers. With increased efficiency enabled by computer networks, though, a vast new world of potential vulnerabilities exists.
Not enough to be on the leading edge anymore. You've got to be in that envelope of turbulence in front of the wing.
The loss of connectivity could have disproportionately egregious effects on America's sophisticated military, as opposed to adversary forces. One piece of malicious code, if sophisticated enough, could cripple the military. Similarly,
I wake up every morning just ecstatic and enthused and challenged and humbled, really, to be their commander and to help support them and lead them in building the next generation of cyber warriors.
There's something about the 39th when you walk in the doors here. We breed a different kind of individual here.
They're fighting the war every day on the wire, and we're training them to do that.
We are a moniker of the Air Force here and in small Herbert Field, Florida.
Folks that are going out day to day, going head to head with their adversaries are better because of folks here and the school.
The fact that we are not only a cyber schoolhouse but an information operations schoolhouse on both levels speaks volumes to the 39th.
It's an area of continuous learning, so every day is a game changer.
I know that what I do here will almost directly impact the warfighter.
It's all about defense of the nation.
We're producing warfighters. It's probably the coolest part of our mission.
It really gives you a sense of accomplishment, like you really have a purpose, not only for the Air Force, but for your country.
The way that cyberspace is headed, I think that'll be very important in the future, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
We're family. I look at it as we're a family, and we want to be able to support each other as much as we can.
It's very important to the mission here that passion and that vision exists in this squadron. We are very innovative in the way we do things and the way we think.
And to be able to teach a myriad of different students from different backgrounds is really what makes the 39th unique from other schoolhouses.
It's great to hear their insight, and it's making me a better airman.
I like what I do, I really do.
Right? Cyber's on the upswing.
If you want to be on the cutting edge of the most exciting, opportunities in our Air Force today, look at cyberspace.
This is not just another support mission. This is ops. This is just another tool for the combatant commander to utilize in defending freedom and keeping America safe.
If that system goes down, it's not, gee, did we lose power? But gee, did an adversary just have a strike against us? Thinking about it differently.
In today's increasingly interconnected world, America's Air Force relies more and more on various networks.
I'm training folks to get out there to be prepared
to do, and I like to talk about what I do, what I can talk about anyway.
We are on the leading edge of cyber.
I go home every day a very satisfied individual with what I do here at the 39th.
I'm going to take this information, take it back to my unit, and day in, day out defend the Air Force gig and play my part in defending the Air Force network.
You are the fighter pilot of tomorrow, and I absolutely believe that.
We're here at Hurlburt Field, Florida, home of the 39th Information Operations Squadron, the Air Force's premier information operations and cyber training unit.
From the President to the SecDef to the Chief of Staff on down, they've all said that while this fiscally strained environment is getting cut left and right,